Hey there, today's video is on the 7 worst things about living here in Salt Lake City, Utah. I've put together this list of some of the things that really annoy me about living here in the Salt Lake City area. So let's jump into my list. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Greg Spackman. I'm with the Living in Salt Lake City channel. So if you're looking to learn everything about what it's like to live here, eat here, sleep here, play here in the Salt Lake City area, then click the subscribe button and the bell to be notified every time I do new videos. Lately, I've been getting a ton of people reaching out about the different areas around Salt Lake City, about where they should move to and everything like that. And I absolutely love it. So if that's you, give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email, and let's get you here to the Salt Lake City area. Starting off with number 7 on the list is the home prices. And this is something that most people want to know. What are housing prices like here in the Salt Lake City area? How much home can I buy for my budget and all of that? So that's something we definitely talk about on the phone once you let me know your budget and what you can afford, and then where you're going to be living and all of that. But home prices here, while it's not cheap to live in the Salt Lake City area, it's not as expensive as it is to live elsewhere. The average price here is about 600,000 for a single family home in the area. That's like a 4 bedroom home, 3 bath home, 2,500 ish square feet. And it's really just depends on which city you're going to go. And while home prices here have continued to go up due to the demand and the low amount of inventory we have, it just really depends on which area you're picking. We can stretch your budget a lot by moving you a little further out from Salt Lake City, a little further south, a little further north. It really just depends on what you're looking for, where you're going to be working, what fun things you want to be able to go do. Do you want to go to Las Vegas? Do you want to go to Idaho? Do you want to spend time in the mountains? Do you want to hike, fish, camp, that sort of thing? We really just need to talk about that. But so overall, home prices are going to be anywhere from a $200,000 condo all the way up to a $50 million mansion up in Park City. So let's get talking about that. The number 6 worst thing about living in Salt Lake City to me, and this is something that you will have to figure out if it's a problem for you, and that's the traffic and the grid system. And well, traffic here, it really depends on where you're coming from around the US. So if you are moving from, say, Los Angeles or Atlanta or Houston or somewhere where you really have traffic, then you'll probably not have any issue with the traffic that we have. However, if you're moving from somewhere in the Midwest where there isn't much traffic, then you're going to find that traffic here is pretty poor. So it can take you an extra 15 minutes to an hour and longer if there's a wreck, of course, but that's going to be everywhere. So usually you can drive 70 to 80 on the freeway here during the day, other than the rush hour times, which is super nice. And so that's kind of the traffic part of it. The grid system is how they label the streets here in Utah. So they all are based on a numbering system, and it starts at the different temples. So the main temple in Temple Square in Salt Lake is 00. So if you're 1,000 east, then you're 1,000 east, 4,000 south, and you're going to see those on street signs and exits on the freeway. It'll just take a little getting used to get the hang of the grid system. But initially, when you move here, it makes no real sense unless you're coming from somewhere where they do that, of course. But for me, growing up, learning the way that the streets were named, they're all named street names. It is much easier for me to remember a street name than it is a street number. However, once you kind of get the hang of the grid system, then it helps you like coordinate where things are going to be, and it makes a lot of sense. It just takes a little bit of getting time to getting used to. For example, one of the places that I go fishing is called the Three Ponds at Draper, and it's located 11,200 south by 920 west. So that's just an example of a place. So if you knew that if it was 500 west, for instance, then you'd know that it was, towards the copper mines mountains instead of the other mountains. So it just takes some time to get used to, but that's the traffic and the grid system, number 6. The number 5 worst thing about living here in Utah is going to be the religion. So if you are moving to Utah and you are a non-Mormon, we were told when we were moving here that it would be a big challenge, and I can tell you that that's not the case. Doesn't seem to really be an issue for us. We thought that we were told that it would be an issue for our kids playing with other kids or having friends or any of that. Really, it's not a non-issue. Maybe it was years ago, or maybe it is in certain parts of Utah. I've heard it's as you go further and further out from Salt Lake City, um, that might be the case. So it's definitely something we can talk about when you reach out to me. Um, there are some real perks about it, and that's Sunday shopping. So whether you're doing groceries or you're shopping at different stores, they aren't as busy as they are during the week. So Sunday is a great day for you to shop if you're non-Mormon, and it seems like a lot of them will still shop and go out to eat and everything on Sunday. So I don't know how. So that's number 5, religion. I don't feel that you're going to find it an issue at all. However, go ahead and comment below if you are watching this and you're from here and you think that religion is an issue. Love to hear about it. The number 4 worst thing about living in Utah. So if you like to gamble, you like to play the lottery, you aren't going to be able to do that here in Utah. There is no lottery. There's no gambling allowed at all. I thought I saw when I was doing some research earlier that they had card games like Texas Hold'em and stuff that you could play here, but I don't think that those are open or they stayed open. So realistically, if you're wanting to gamble, you're going to be going to Wendover, Nevada, which is about an hour and 45 minutes west out I-80 towards Reno. And there's a couple casinos there that you can go to. And then you can drive up north into Idaho to go to some Indian casinos. It's about a 3-hour drive to be able to gamble there. And I believe that they only have slots. So if someone could correct me if they have table games, we just haven't done that drive. Otherwise, you can go 5.5 hours south, right down I-15, super smooth drive to Las Vegas. And then you can do every sort of gambling you want and, stay at the resorts and all of that. And it's super, super cool to go to Vegas. If you haven't been, if you have been, then you know what it's like. But it's amazing. They used to have really, really cheap buffets, and now they're not. They're pretty expensive, or a lot of the hotels have gone away from the buffets like they used to. I just don't think they need that draw anymore to get people to go. However, so that's 5.5 hours away, and then you have a lot of different shopping options in Las Vegas too that you can go to. So that's number 4 on the list. The number 3 worst thing about living in Utah, this is something that drives me nuts on a daily basis, is the drivers here are terrible. And so they will run red lights. That's the latest thing that they're doing. So you're going to see 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, sometimes 10 cars go through once the light turns red. Cops here don't seem to write tickets for running red lights, even though it's really, really dangerous. So one of the things that we do is we just take that extra half second to make sure that no one is going through the light before we go. And we had to let our kids know that both are newer drivers that they have to wait. They can't just punch it right when the light goes green like you used to be able to do years ago, or maybe in your area. But if they run red lights in your area, comment that below. I'd love to hear about it. And then the other thing you're going to notice is drivers drive really, really fast on the freeways. They'll drive 80, 90, 100 miles an hour on the freeway. They'll switch lanes. You'll have people that are in the fast lane that then decide they need to get off at this exit, and then they shoot all the way across. They don't look. They don't signal. Just, it's awful for some of the drivers. Now, a lot of the times I drive and there's no issue at all. It just seems like once or twice a day when we're driving, we run into the world's worst drivers. So if you think you have terrible drivers, let's hear about it. The number 2 worst thing about living here in Salt Lake City, and that's the air quality. So if you have any sort of breathing problems, asthma, anything like that, you want to talk to your doctor about that before you move here. And if you think that the crisp mountain air automatically equates to good air quality, then you probably haven't been here to Salt Lake City. So this last year didn't seem to be as bad of an issue for air quality as the first year we were here, but we came like 3 or 4 years ago just to visit family that lived here, and California had forest fires and they were blowing all their smoke into us. So you couldn't really see it at all. And there are days where you can't see the mountains, but for the most part this year, it's been really, really good. We do have something here called the inversion layer, and that means cold air gets trapped by warm air, so it creates this like almost like smog-like look to the haziness, I guess you'd say, to the mountains in the area. But air quality can be rough here, so you just need to be aware that air quality could be an issue if it's an issue for you. And that leads us to the number one worst thing about living here in Utah. And while this could be a pro or a con for you, so if you do not drink alcohol, then you won't need to worry about this one, but you probably should just listen so that way if you have friends or family or whatever that do drink, is alcohol rules here in the state of Utah are really, really weird. You can't buy alcohol on Sundays, so there are other areas where you can't do that in the nation, so just know that. But you can't buy it on holidays. 3.2% beer is sold at gas stations and grocery stores, and then they sell some other hard seltzer type drinks at the grocery store and gas station. But you can't buy wine, you can't buy any sort of hard alcohol. You have to go to the state-run liquor stores, and in the state-run liquor stores, they get to set the pricing, which apparently is higher than what it is in other states. So a lot of people will travel to Nevada to buy alcohol and then come back with it that way, even though you're not really supposed to do that, supposedly. Supposedly it's called bootlegging, but I don't know if that's still the case. If it isn't, someone could let me know so that way I could correct it for future videos. However, moving to Utah from Nashville, where we were, when we first moved to Nashville, you couldn't buy wine in the grocery stores. And then all of a sudden they passed something that allowed them to sell it in the grocery stores. And there was this big uprising. People were upset and they added it to the grocery store. And initially people went nuts and bought lots and lots of wine, more than I've ever seen people buy. They would have 6, 12 bottles of wine. And then it's lessened from there. And then you'd see like the normal amount of people in the wine section as you would in, say, the vegetables or something. And it wasn't really an issue, and I don't think it's an issue there now at all, being in the grocery store. I wanted to end this on a positive note, the video, because all those were negatives. So I'm going to share my favorite thing about living here in Salt Lake City, Utah, and that's that it doesn't get dark until 9, 10 o'clock at night. And the reason that I really like that is it just feels like during the summertime from about June through September, it stays light out, and it just means that I can do a lot of things. So I can work all day, do videos for you guys, show you homes and everything until 8 p.m., 9 p.m. at night during that time period. And when I'm not doing that, then I can go out and go hiking. I can go hit a trail after dinner, sit down, eat with the family. And then at 7, 8 p.m., I could go do a trail for an hour and come back. And I feel like I get a lot more stuff done with having more light. So hopefully those 7 worst things I just shared about living here in Salt Lake City make you still want to make the move here. And if that's the case, give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to talk to you about where you want to live here in the Salt Lake City area. I absolutely love that. So until next time, be rad.